YouTube channel. This is yet another episode of the interview series that I'm doing right now. And today I'm here with a very special guest, Akshat Mohite. So, hi, Akshat. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time and doing this with me. I usually start off my guests with a brief introduction. So, if you could please tell us a little bit about your background and what is the work that you're doing right now.
Okay, so firstly, hello, and thank you so much for having me here. Talking about a brief background, I'm a undergraduate student as well as astronaut, in training. So I've been training myself as an astronaut. I've taken my G-force training. I've taken my hypoxia chamber training, spacesuit donning, doffing training, and so on. I took certain certifications such as SAMI, then PADI, then FAA, then such kinds of certifications that are required. Talking about the current work that I am doing, I'm currently the Chief Technology Officer for Spaceonova. It is a India-based aerospace startup wherein we are, India's top five companies leading in the education industry of space technologies. But soon we are moving on to the, technology side. We are going to manufacture things and we have started building these 3D printed rockets and motors and stuff like these. So that is what I'm doing currently.
Okay, wow, that's great. So thank you so much for the introduction, and I'll just dive right into it. So the first question that I generally ask to somebody of your background is what kind of motivated you want to get into the space sector, and since you're kind of an astronaut in training, what exactly made you pursue this dream of becoming an astronaut?
Okay. So this has been, really, I would say unplanned because it all started from curiosity. I was watching this movie, Krish. I'm not sure if you've watched it. If you've watched it, you might be able to relate. There's this Dr. Mehra in that movie, Krish, who is a scientist. And I watched that movie when I was in my third or fourth grade. I'm not really sure. I watched that movie and I was really fascinated with the term scientist. So I decided I need to become a scientist. And in my eighth grade, I realized that, okay, scientists means something that has to do with chemicals. So I started learning chemistry. I started, reading books, reading research papers and everything. And in a year, I thought, let's jump onto some another subject. So I took up economics. I started learning about economics. I had economics as a subject in my school as well. And then later in my 10th, I finally stepped into physics, and that is when the actual journey started. I stepped up into physics. I was just, reading research papers. I read about brief history of time and brief history of time and, all such books. And finally, when I was in my 11th grade, I wrote a research paper on space settlement. Now, that was my very first paper that I had written. And that too, again, it was all based out of curiosity because there was this one possum knot who had come down to my city and he gave a seminar which was about how can you excel into the space industry and everything. He recommended that you guys need to write papers, you guys need to participate in contests and everything, and he suggested this NASA Ames research space contest. So I wrote a paper for that and it got selected, which is the reason I was invited to the International Space Development Conference in 2018. And that is when my journey actually started. So I would, in precise words, it all started out of curiosity, and curiosity is something that has driven me till now.
Okay, wow, that's such a nice story to hear about how it developed over the years. So, I was actually going to ask you about the space settlement that you designed, that you briefly described just a few moments ago, that was selected for the ISDC. And you did mention how you were exposed to this opportunity through the POSSUM Knot. What I would be interested in knowing is, as an 11th grader, how did you have the resources, or how did you understand what went into writing a research paper? So, did you get some help for that? And number two, how has that particular instance, like being a 11th grader, being invited to NASA, going to the conference and presenting, changed your life today?
Okay. So yeah, of course, I didn't know much about how to write a research paper and how to decide a flow of a research paper and everything because being an 11th grader, I was much into sports and roaming around with my friends. But then I saw this as an opportunity, and I've always believed that you need to be an opportunist. So what happened is when I saw this coming my way, I sat down along with my dad and we both started typing it. So my dad is particularly not from the science background, but then whatever I used to speak, he used to type in because we had barely like 10 days to write the whole paper. We had to print it, convert it into a black book, and then we had to send it ahead to NASA Ames Research Center. So it was a huge task overall. But then what I did is I took references from YouTube. I read other research papers. I read the sample papers which were, on this space settlement, through which I got a brief idea on how is it supposed to be. And once I had that brief idea, we started writing and we wrote almost 40 pages research paper, which was based on how can we settle 20,000 people up in space and giving them a perfect Earth-like environment, 1G gravity, and using hydroponics to grow food, and then using Wi-Fi for internet connections and all such things that were involved in that paper. Now, talking about an 11th grader who was invited to such a huge conference, it was surely a out of the world experience because firstly there were these media people, media who took certain bites of me, published it on TV channels and newspapers, and in my very first experience, that was something really cool because not everyone comes in TV or not everyone comes in newspapers of our age, so that was surely cool. But then there was this point I consider my as a failure point. That was I wasn't able to get my US visa. I was rejected for my US visa because I was underage as well as I was traveling with my professor. So my US visa was declined. But then that didn't prove as a stop. Of course, we started work, kept on working, and that's how it surely goes.
Okay. So yeah, the reason why I asked this question is even as an undergrad student, there are people, including myself, who are a little confused about how to get into research and how to, and you did this as an 11th grader. So is there some kind of, like, as you mentioned, you used all the free resources available on YouTube, you took help with from your dad. So is there some sort of advice you would give to somebody who's like interested in research and wants to start doing it? Like, what should they be doing?
Okay, so the basic advice would be to read research papers. We are much more into reading books of different authors and going out and finding different books to read. But then what I started practicing is whatever topic I needed to research upon, I used to firstly read those research papers and get an idea on what is an abstract, what is an introduction, how do you create an impactful abstract, then how do you choose a journal. These are the certain things that you might understand by reading a research paper itself, and that also makes you understand the flow. How do you decide the flow of a research paper? So the basic advice would be reading a research paper. Now when I say reading a research paper, everyone would have questions that how do we get research papers, how so you have these certain sites such as googlescholars.com, or we have researchgate, or we have science direct. These are a couple of sites which can give you access to some of the research papers that you might start reading. And that would be the really first and the basic step for you. And that would be really helpful as well.
Okay, so thank you so much for that advice, and I think that will definitely help anybody who wants to get into research and don't exactly know where to start. Okay, moving on, I would love to know a little bit about Possum because I saw that a lot popping up a lot on your profile. So can you please tell our viewers what Possum is, and since you've been a part of the organization, what was your experience like doing that?
Okay, so POSSUM is Polar Suborbital Science in Upper Mesosphere. Now, this might sound a bit technical, but then what it actually is, when you look up in the sky, the clouds that you see are the stratospheric clouds. And what POSSUM studies is on mesospheric clouds that we call noctilucent clouds as well. Now, the reason there is this whole establishment of Project POSSUM is because noctilucent clouds are something that are really mysterious. You don't know how they are formed. You don't know, the properties. So what we do is we do noctilucent cloud tomography missions, which means we click images of noctilucent clouds, by reaching to an altitude of 80 kilometers. So it's basically a Virgin Galactic type flight profile. So currently we are not doing it. Like I haven't done it. It's because you need to undergo several trainings. But I have been a part of Project Possum by AST 101, by which I was able to learn more about RedCam. I was able to, do some of my trainings such as spacesuit donning, doffing training, G-force training, and an extra 300L aircraft where I was able to pull around 6 Gs of force on my body. Then we did this hypoxia chamber training, like, changing the pressure of a pressure chamber, sitting inside it so that you can simulate certain altitudes. And check what is the response of your body with less oxygen. So that was another. So overall, it was a great experience wherein I was able to learn, more about the astronautics and somewhat about the red cam, that is 1,000 frames per second camera, and also certain simulators. So yeah, that was what we did then.
It sounds super fun. Uh, what if somebody is interested and they want to join this organization? How can they join it?
So basically, you have to go up to Project POSSUM site, and then there will be this apply option wherein you'll have to submit your motivation letter, CV, and why do you want to join Project POSSUM and every such thing. In my case, what I had written is, meanwhile, before joining POSSUM, I was writing a research paper on re-entry of space vehicle. And while the re-entry of space vehicle, the important part is played in the mesosphere. And I understood that POSSUM is also researching over the noctilucent clouds. So it kind of complemented my research study, and I got to learn more about it. And that's the reason I had applied. So POSSUM is not a tourist experience for astronauts, but it is a kind of training that you take, a kind of course that you go in, which is a lot more serious than a tourist program. So you need to have clear vision on why do you need to do it, why are you doing it, and then you can surely apply it.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for that information. Now, moving on, let's talk a little bit about Spaceonova. So, just a little fun fact, Rashmi Sheoran has already been on this channel. I think she's the communication officer at Spaceonova. So, I've already had a brief introduction regarding the organization from her, and the work that you're doing sounds amazing. I would love to know what your role is in the organization and how is it contributing to the work in the future.
Okay, so currently, as I mentioned, I'm this chief technology officer at Spaceonova. So I look after all the space technologies that are happening, such as may it be rocket, may it be rover. So, everything that is related to space technologies undergoes me. So we have several different departments, such as aerospace department. We have astrophysics, astrobiology, astronomy. So we believe in doing more of the hands-on work, hands-on projects, and that is what my role is. So what I do is I try to oversee all of these missions or projects that are going on, and administer it to go in a smoother way by getting certain collaborations or getting myself be a part of the team and working over it. So currently, we just launched two model rockets, and now we are into the development of a high-powered rocket with recovery systems and everything. So that is what we are doing currently.
Okay, that sounds great. So, since you mentioned it's an edtech company, are there any programs or courses that you're running right now?
Oh yeah. So basically, currently there is this Python with space application training program and masterclass that is going on, wherein we teach students from nothing to everything. Like a person who knows nothing about Python, he can as well join. And once he joins in, at the end of the training program, he'll be able to use Python as a master in space application. He can create, Discord boards, or he can use it for astronomy anywhere. So that is what we are doing currently. After this, we are also planning for certain different courses such as astrobiology course and everything, which we'll surely upload over the Instagram and LinkedIn updates.
Sure, definitely. If anybody's interested, you can just check out their social medias. Okay. So
Perfect.
the next thing I want to know, we didn't talk a little bit about your college. So are you a full-time college student right now?
Oh yeah, I am.
Which year are you in?
I'm currently like I entered my third year mechanical engineering right now.
Okay. So I wanted to know how do you balance all of your extracurricular and co-curricular activities with a full load of your college schedule? Because you're doing so much right now. So what are your time management skills, or how are you able to do so much?
Okay, so basically, this all began from when I was in my 11th grade. Not forgetting to mention that. So what I used to do is I used to, give my in my 11th and 12th grade, I used to spend my day in my college studies, my homeworks and assignments, and in the night time I used to research. So my sleep time had decreased substantially. But as soon as I entered my college is a lot supportive. So I am from APSA Institute of Technology, Thane, wherein they support me to the highest extent, whatever it might be. So my time management has been a lot easier while I'm a full-time student over here.
Okay, that's nice that you're receiving all the support from your college. It must really be helping with your research as well.
Indeed, and like any of the projects that I have, for example, I had this one motor testing that I had to do. So I just approached my college and I was like, "Hey, need to do this motor testing. Would you be able to give me some space? And they gave me the whole lab. They were like, do it wherever you want. So they've been complimenting me in my work as well as have been supporting me in my academics. So that's the best part of my life for now,
Yeah,
I would say.
that's such a great part to have. Okay, so I think, yeah, I would love to know what your future plans are. So, where do you plan to go from here on?
Okay. So basically, as said, I'm the part of Spaceonova. So firstly, I would say growing Spaceonova is one of the aim that we have because the private space sector in India has been growing, unanimously and just going ahead with it. I believe that we can reach certain extents that no one has reached because we have a team that's really qualified for the same, and we are having this whole path that's been planned. So, firstly, I would say growth of Spaceonova is the aim. Secondly, once I'm done with my bachelor's, I am aiming to go out for my master's in aerospace, aeronautical, and astronautical engineering, maybe from Embry or any other college that I'm able to get into. Because naming any college before getting an offer letter into is really difficult. So yeah, that would be the next step. Side by side, I've also been trying to tag along certain Indian government organizations such as ISRO and DRDO. I've been trying, yet there's not been any huge update over it. But if I do have some update, I always share it on my social medias again. So yeah, that's what I'm currently planning to go ahead like. And of course, there are certain missions that I've been planning, certain analog missions, testing out certain projects that I've been doing. So yeah, these are a couple of things I plan to do up ahead after, of course, this COVID period ends.
Yes. Okay, that's so great. Since you mentioned your social media, I'd love to ask you this because I've seen like you're pretty active on social media. Has it helped you in any way? Like, have you received some opportunities because of it by sharing all the work that you do?
Yeah, indeed. Like, of course, I am really active on Instagram and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has proven to give me a lot of opportunities, a lot of connections, which were really helpful in my journey. So I would always suggest every student who is, wanting to get into the space ecosystem of ours, because our space ecosystem is really small. And if you want to connect with certain people, LinkedIn is the best place where you can connect, get guidance from them, and you can execute your plans accordingly. And that's what I've been doing, and it's proven to be a really great going thing for me. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that's the advice that I hear a lot, especially as you mentioned for aerospace in India, is that networking is the key to everything. All the people that you can meet, and I mean, it's one connection, one right connection that can totally bring such a new and amazing opportunity to you. So I completely agree with that.
Exactly, and we
And
always say that your network is your net worth, and that is totally correct because Space Nova, the organization I'm the part of, I met Shivam, who is the founder and CEO of Space Nova over LinkedIn itself. So
oh wow,
we were a connection, and I just saw, I commented on one of his posts, and that is how we got connected. And later on, we discussed certain opportunities about collaboration and everything. And that time, I was the founder and president of National Space Society Mumbai chapter. And upon that, we decided upon collaborating on the same platform. And afterwards, I was like, okay, the private aerospace sector is much more flourishing, and that's when we decided to tag along and work together. So
that's
yeah,
great,
LinkedIn or any such social medias or networking platforms are really great for your career.
amazing. All right. So I think this is the final question that I have. We're coming to an end, and I again always ask this question to all of my guests, is because a lot of people who are watching are kind of aspiring to maybe get to the position that you are right now, or even like move ahead in the space sector. So, what kind of advice could you give them? Because when they look at you, they see someone who started in the 11th grade, who started so early, and most of my audience is like 18 to 22, the college age. So, what kind of advice could you give them on getting more involved in the space sector, or doing things that will again further pave their path in the future in the aerospace sector?
Okay, so firstly, I would say never let your curiosity die because curiosity is something that has driven me from every of my hurdles, every failures, and everything. So that question of why is this working this way, or why is it happening? So these are certain curious statements that you should never let them go. For me, that curious statement was okay. How does a scientist work? What is the scientist's work? And why do we need scientists? So these were certain curious questions I had, which I went upon exploring, and that's when I decided to become a scientist. Next thing I would say is don't search for motivation, because you should be self motivated. Motivation is something that comes from inside you, and you don't get it from somewhere else. So be self motivated. And lastly, there are many opportunities that are available around you in India as well as other countries. But then you can look out for certain internships, you can look out for certain courses such as Spaceonova offers, and certain Discord channels such as Spaceonova has it. Like, you can just go to spaceonova.com/discord, and you would be a part of this global community wherein we have people from other companies as well. We post updates, we talk about certain opportunities, and you just find one opportunity that is correct for you, and you're in. And that's how beautiful it is. It's really easy.
Wow, that's wonderful advice. Thank you so much for that. And especially, I think, as you mentioned, Spaceonova, the community building is very important. And I see so many new organizations coming up who are emphasize particularly on building a community and then sharing all of the opportunities with everyone. And that's the kind of attitude we need, especially for the space sector in India, because obviously there are not a lot of opportunities that are available right now. So you need to have this kind of supportive community that's providing you with all of the things and the opportunities that you need to get ahead.
Yeah, indeed, and that's the best part. Like, from the community, you get into certain organizations such as an intern or something. And currently, Spaceonova has impacted around 32,000 plus people, 32,000 plus students, and as well as many of the interns who were the interns of Spaceonova currently have their own companies wherein they're founders and CEO and are doing great. So it's just one opportunity that you need, and the next thing you know is you've entered into the space industry, and you just have to work and work harder. That's it.
That's amazing. You guys are doing a
Yeah.
great job.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I think that's the end of the interview. Again, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I'll be linking all of your social medias and all of Spaceonova's social medias in the description. So if anybody wants to check them out, do you respond to DMs?
Yeah, we'd respond to all the DMs, may it be any
Sure.
platform.
So if any
Yeah.
of you guys have any queries, you can DM them. They do respond to their DMs. So yeah, again, Akshat, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you so much to having me here.
Okay.